Hey everyone, Jeff here from Films at Home, and here are 10 movies that I think desperately need a 4K UHD Blu-ray release. Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to the channel today for this video. If you've been following my channel, you may have seen my recent 10 movies that need a Blu-ray release video. That covered 10 movies that needed to be upgraded from DVD. They didn't even have an HD physical media release. Now this video, I'm going to talk about 10 movies that desperately need that 4K upgrade to go from a Blu-ray release up to 4K with HDR. Now, a lot of these, I think, in fact, all of them do have a Blu-ray release already, so we at least get that. And of course, there are thousands of movies that haven't made their way to 4K yet. This list could have been huge, but these are 10 of my personal picks based on potential, how great they could be, the audio and the video, and just some personal favorites that I really hope we can get on 4K in the next year or so. So to kick things off here, I'm gonna pick a movie that is a personal, like, top 3 movie of all time for me, and that is Zodiac, directed by David Fincher. Now, there's a lot of Fincher stuff that I'd like to see come to 4K, and I think we've only had at this point The Social Network. We're not talking about Seven, we're not talking about The Game, we're not talking about Gone Girl, we're not talking about all these other great projects that he's been a part of. But the one for me that stands out is Zodiac. First of all, the movie is beautifully shot. Like, there is some really stunning cinematography. The scene that stands out to me all the time is when they introduce the Zodiac killer and they kind of brutally show his first killing of that couple out in the hills in California. But I mean, it's so masterfully done. In the rest of the movie, there's so many intense moments, a lot of really intense dark moments. I'm thinking about one scene in a basement that I'd love to see in HDR, but it's just such a beautiful movie, and it deserves that full 4K master. Give me the HDR, give me a Dolby Atmos audio track, really enhance that powerful score that comes with this movie. I just need this movie on 4K. Lots of Fincher stuff needs to come to 4K, but this is the one I think I want the most. Now, number 2 on my list is King Kong 1933. We've seen what a great job the 4K format can do for black and white movies. Something like It's a Wonderful Life. We just talked about this on my podcast with Todd Sokoloff from Paramount, and he's a home entertainment executive. He talked about they didn't think It's a Wonderful Life could do much for 4K, and the black and white is absolutely incredible, especially with HDR grading. That added contrast and brightness is perfect for the black and white color. And King Kong 1933 is just one of the most influential films of all time. It is masterfully done for its age. It's going to be 90 years old this year in 2023, which makes for a perfect anniversary release if somebody could get it out there. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to happen, but this is my petition to make it happen, because that movie deserves all of the best treatment, and I hope it's really well preserved. That's another reason why I'd like to see this get a 4K release, is so that it's well preserved on a 4K digital file, and we don't have to worry about anything deteriorating or getting broken down any further before they can scan it. If they haven't scanned it yet at 4K, I sure hope they're working on it, and I sure hope that means we're getting a 4K release very soon, because it's just simply one of the greatest movies of all time, and it deserves that treatment. Now, next on the list, I could have gone with any number of movies from this series, but I'm picking Aliens. Now, we have Alien on 4K, looks absolutely outstanding, but we never did get Aliens, or, speaking of David Fincher, Alien 3, but Aliens is a James Cameron job, which, if you've been watching my stuff, paying attention, you know that takes a lot of work to get done. But it's incredible to me that Aliens may be the greatest sci-fi sequel of all time, right up there with Terminator 2, also James Cameron. It's incredible that that doesn't have the 4K treatment yet, because it is, I think, in my opinion, I like it more than Alien, and I don't think I'm alone there. Alien is amazing, and I love that movie too, but Aliens just takes it to the next level, and I want to see that in gorgeous HDR color grading. I want to see that with incredible Atmos or DTS:X audio. I want to see that with a 4K scan with the highest resolution possible. Like, that movie just begs for that, especially the color grading could be so fantastic on that release. And the Blu-ray we have is pretty good, but man, if they do it right, they could do an amazing job with Aliens, and I really, really hope that that comes to 4K at some point in the near future. Next on my list, as a horror fan, this is a huge gap in the world of 4K, and that is A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I would say, of course, at least let me get the first movie, but really, I'd love to see a full box set. Even if they were just 4K mastered Blu-rays like Scream Factory did with Friday the 13th, I'd be okay with that. But I want that top-notch quality box set, and I'd really love to have at least like the first 3 movies on 4K format. Now, at this point in 2023 with 4K, we've got almost every single Halloween movie on 4K. The only one we're missing now is the 2 Rob Zombie movies. We've got Friday the 13th, the original, on 4K, and we have that amazing box set full of HD remasters and 4K remasters. We've got Saw has been remastered to 4K. The Scream movies have been remastered to 4K. Texas Chainsaw Massacre has been remastered to 4K. All these icons of horror are getting these 4K releases, these remasters, and A Nightmare on Elm Street is just kind of sitting out there in limbo. The only Blu-ray release we have is a box set that I think was put out like 10 years ago at this point. It's definitely out of date. It's definitely due for a remaster, and it's a movie, again, that given its darkness, the way it was shot, you know, if they do this right, it could look absolutely fantastic on 4K, even just the 4K resolution going back to those original film sources. You know, this is Wes Craven too. This is Wes Craven's baby. This is his franchise. I mean, I guess Scream is as well. Like, the guy was just a legend. But like Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, like, how does that not exist on this format? Everybody knows that that would sell just as well as any of these other franchises sold, which all did very well as far as I've known. So we really need to get Freddy Krueger on 4K, and it's a real shame we haven't to this point. Now, the next one on my list, I think, if it's ever released, could be a reference level, maybe a top 5 4K disc of all time, and that is Master and Commander. Now, this year is the 20th anniversary of Master and Commander's release. It was released in 2003. But the visuals on that movie, the audio on that movie, I mean, at the very least, it would be an audio reference track if they gave it a solid Dolby Atmos upgrade. It would be off the charts, just engrossing audio. Like, it would just suck you in the same way that like a Top Gun Maverick sucks you in. That is so due for that level of audio. But I'd also just love to see it remastered. I'd love to see it in 4K. I'd love to see them enhance all these colors. That HDR could do wonders for it. And I think it's a movie that probably deserves a second look, and that's what a new release could really do for it. A lot of people don't really realize how, I think, great this movie is, and it really does deserve all the best, and it's not talked about nearly at the same level as some of the other movies, like in its world, in its category. It is as bombastic as any of these great, huge, you know, action movies and adventure movies, and I just think it deserves all the best, and that means a 4K release. Unfortunately, it does look like it's owned by 20th Century Studios, so we'd have to pray to the mouse for that one at this point, which makes it sort of unlikely unless they start opening their doors a little bit to physical media again, which, you know, we can always hope for. And if they do, I think this one should be at the top of their list. Now, next on my list isn't a singular movie, but I'd really like to see more of the James Bond stuff. Specifically, Sean Connery as James Bond, who I think is still my favorite James Bond. Maybe I have a soft spot for him because I love him in Indiana Jones and I love him in The Rock, but I want to see some more of that old James Bond come to 4K, because the remasters that they've done for the newer Bond movies look great, but go back to those 35mm sources, give them a fresh master, give them that fresh color grade, make sure they are preserved, and hopefully get them out in the best available format we can, which is 4K. Now, I don't know why these haven't come out yet. There could be multiple reasons. I think they're tied up with MGM and Amazon now, right? They own them as part of that new deal, which means Amazon would have to do physical releases. They're really the owners, although MGM, I believe, is still sort of operating. So I think there's maybe some rights things there. But at the same time, I've heard recently that they are rewriting some of the James Bond novels to remove like the inappropriate content, which, you know, I'm 1000% against. Like, if you want to put a disclaimer at the front and say this was written at a certain time where you know, the people were different, people weren't as open-minded, people didn't understand that they were being offensive, that's one thing. I don't mind the disclaimer that they put out there, like, to give context, but you can't start editing these things. They're doing it with Roald Dahl books too. It's driving me nuts. And I'm worried that that could be a reason why you're not going to see these movies come out on 4K, because yeah, they do have some like misogynistic, like overly misogynistic, terrible things that happen in them. But that's not the majority of the movie. That's like less than 1% of the movie, and the rest of the movie is great. So, you know, let's like understand the context of the time and when these were made, understand it was wrong, but let's get those out in 4K because they really deserve it. And I don't want to discount anybody else either. Like, give me Pierce Brosnan, give me Roger Moore, like give me all of the Bond movies that, you know, in a beautiful 4K box set would be incredible. Now, next up on my list, as a huge John Carpenter fan, it's one of my favorite movies of his, and he's had some good stuff come to 4K, Halloween and Halloween 2. He's had The Thing get a 4K release. He's had Prince of Darkness. He's had Escape from New York. He's had, you know, The Fog. He's had a whole bunch of stuff come to 4K. They Live. But this one I think is a huge gap, and it is Big Trouble in Little China. This movie deserves the 4K treatment. First of all, to bring it to new audiences, because I don't think people realize how great the movie is. But it's also just so colorful. It's so fun. And the Blu-ray release, at least the one that I have, it's not all that impressive. I have the original Blu-ray. I know Shout Factory did a re-release of it, and they probably did better work on it. But man, this really just deserves that remastering. It deserves 4K. It deserves all the best resolution. It deserves HDR color. And it also deserves Dolby Atmos audio, because the audio moments in this are incredible. It's one of my favorite Kurt Russell movies. It's one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. And it's a real shame that, given all the Carpenter catalog that has come to 4K, that this one has not yet. Now, at number 8 on my list is a Tarantino movie, and I could have gone with The Hateful Eight here because that is a beautiful movie. I could have gone with Kill Bill because those again are beautiful, or Jackie Brown. Really, his whole catalog deserves 4K at some point, and I hope they do it right, like they did with Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. But this one I really want, and it's Django Unchained. I still think personally this is my favorite Tarantino movie. I think it's a masterpiece. It tells such an incredible story. Jamie Foxx and Christoph Waltz, and that dynamic there is incredible throughout. It's so engaging. It's so much fun to watch. It's hard to watch at times. It does tell you know, a story of a really tough time in American history, and just the whole journey of Django Unchained is so beautiful. And The Hateful Eight has that great cinematography, but I think Django Unchained has it as well. And on top of that, has some incredible moments that Atmos could blow you away with, like the end of the movie. The shootout at the end could be amazing. The fight on the plantation somewhere towards the middle of the movie, just again, incredible. And the colors on this, like, I distinctly remember one amazing scene where, you know, Django shoots I forget the brother's name, one of the big three brothers that's on the plantation, on Big Daddy's plantation, and the blood, you know, sprays across the cotton, and you get this like striking red on white color. I mean, I just would love to see that with some HDR color grade. And I don't know if we'll get it, because I've heard Tarantino's not a huge fan of 4K, but we got Inglourious Bastards, we got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we got Reservoir Dogs, we got Pulp Fiction. You know, I know the Django Unchained was tied up with the Weinstein Company crap, which really sucks that so many movies get tied to that horrible guy, and now they're having issues. But I hope it can get out someday, because it definitely deserves all the best treatment in the world. Now, number 9 on my list is another older movie. We're going back to The Longest Day. Now, this movie, I don't think maybe gets talked about in the same context as some other great World War II movies. I think it's often forgotten by people of my generation because we have Saving Private Ryan. But The Longest Day really deserves better. And the Blu-ray release that's out there from Fox is really, really poor. It's got a lot of DNR. It was smoothed out to no end. Like, it doesn't look right. I believe it's using DVD era video compression, and it doesn't have great audio. Like, it deserves more. It's a big 3-hour plus epic. It has so many big names in it, and it's World War II. It's D-Day. It's one of the most important events in world history, is one of the biggest movies in movie history, and where we have stuff like, we got The Great Escape, we got Saving Private Ryan. Like, The Longest Day is right up there with those in terms of World War II movies, and I hope somebody at Fox is paying attention. And, whether they want to put it on a physical media or not, that's my ultimate goal. But somebody please go back and restore that properly and get it restored and remastered in 4K. Get the grain back in there. Don't scrub it down. Don't make it all waxy. Give it a nice color grade. Give it some new audio. And I'd be happy just to view that on any format. Of course, I want it on physical, but really, I hope they preserve that movie, because as it stands right now, the digital scan, if that's what they have as a backup that they put out on Blu-ray, it looks horrible, and that cannot be the end all for this movie. It deserves better. And finally, last one on my list, we're going back to Disney now, but this is actually a Disney and not a Fox title, and it's Tron. You could convince me either way, Tron Classic or the new Tron movie. I think they probably both deserve it, but I really want to see Tron Classic. That's a movie that, throughout the country has had 70mm showings, which I have heard incredible things about, and every one of those movies that has like a 70mm print deserves to be on 4K, because those are the movies that 4K format is truly made for. And Tron, with its incredible color and the contrast there, what HDR could do to that movie, again, the audio and what a new audio track could do for that movie, and just the nostalgia factor too. I believe it's 1982, so we just missed its 40th anniversary, but you know what, give it to me for the 45th, give it to me for the 42nd, give it to me whenever you can. But Tron deserves that 4K treatment. It is exactly the type of movie, if I was making a list of, if I had to start a new format and I said, here are the 25 movies that I'm going to pick, that would have been on my list as one of the ones that I think would blow people away if they saw it in a newly remastered disc. So I can't believe it never did come out. I think it's a huge missed opportunity. If it does ever get released, I think it will sell like crazy, and hopefully somebody does it someday, because the Blu-ray is pretty good already, but man, the possibilities of 4K for a movie like that with the quality that it is are just, nearly endless. It could seriously be one of the greatest discs that's been released, and it's a shame we haven't had it yet. So those are my 10 picks for movies I want to see come to 4K. Now, like I said, thousands of movies out there haven't come to 4K yet. I could have made 10 of these videos and kept going for days and days and days. I had to pick 10, narrow it down, but let me know in the comments, what is on your wish list? What are the ones you guys want to see? I did throw in a couple of other movies here and there because there's just so much that the format, could use at this point. But let me know. I'm interested. You guys usually have some really cool picks, some obscure stuff I don't know about, so I'd love to hear what you think. And if you are interested, make sure you check out my 10 movies that deserve a Blu-ray release, because I think you'll be shocked at the 10 movies that still don't even have an HD release, never mind a 4K, because there's, again, thousands of movies that need that as well. They need a Blu-ray, they need a 4K. There's a lot of gaps here, which means there's a ton of potential for this format to keep growing, which is awesome. And I hope that this video inspires some people to make these 4K discs, because I know I did this a few years ago, and I looked back at that video and I was like, oh, okay, check. It was good to put it out there and see that they got done. So let's put these 10 out there and check back in 2 years and see how many of these got done. Hopefully it's all 10. That would be amazing, because I think every single one of these deserves it. So thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here on YouTube if you want more content like this on physical media, home entertainment, just movies in general. And make sure you follow my podcast. I'm on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. The link is in the description. And I also have a video playlist for the podcast here on YouTube if you prefer the video version. I appreciate all the support here. Also, make sure to follow me on social media. All those links are in my description, as well as a bunch of links where you can help me with partners, discount codes, referral links, all different ways that you can passively support my channel and usually get something back yourself, like $3 off the horror pack or $15 free to spend on whatnot to buy movies. So check those links out. But otherwise, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, stay healthy out there, and I will talk to you all soon.